Steve Lukather opens up about his autistic son. I'm John Bowden from Rock History Music. My wife and I have a 20-year-old autistic daughter. She was born in 1998, and before she had a diagnosis, we knew there was something seriously wrong with our daughter. If you know someone with autism or even have an autistic child, you'll know about the many layers of coming to terms with accepting what is. And once you do that, having an autistic child is challenging, but we all rise to the occasion and do stuff. In the middle of my interview with Steve Lukather, I have to admit I did not know his son Bodhi was autistic. So in the middle of him asking me about how I ended up in the city that I live in, I blurted out it's because of autistic funding. We needed funding for our daughter. And that's when he told me about Bodhi.
Son Bodhi's autistic, yeah. Pretty low on the spectrum, but he's still there. But we're fortunate we caught it early when he was 3, and we've been, he's got every possible therapy and things. He's in school, he laughs, he kisses and hugs, he's funny. He's just starting to catch up with the talking, so I'm really hopeful. But, man, dude, I understand what you're going through.
Steve, is he vocal?
Oh, yeah, no, he talks. He's just started talking up a storm. I mean, he's in a special class now, but he's in school, and he's doing really well, really well. And hopefully he'll be able to transition to a regular class in the next few years. But, we're pretty lucky because I've seen the extreme cases, and my heart breaks for some of these people that just, their kids, it's a handful, man. And even Bodhi, my son, I mean, he'll get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and want to go swimming. You know what I mean? It's like, fortunately, I've had the same nanny housekeeper for 32 years who's like the baby whisperer. And she adores him, and she'll, when the kids are with me, she's always around too. So I have a hands-on right there, but their mom is really hands-on. And we're all best friends, so there's no bad vibe there. If anything, it brought us all closer together.
No
and my older daughter from him is almost 10. She's 9 years old, and she's really super soulful with Bodhi. And Bodhi's just, to me, it's not weird anymore. At first, I'm sure you understand that. I know when you first get the diagnosis, it's like a horse kicked you in the chest. You know what I mean? You're like, you don't even know how to deal with this. Like, what's wrong? And you imagine this whole life of horrible things. I don't know where is your kid at?
If I was on the other side and they would have asked me, what do you want in a daughter? I would have said, I want her to be really happy. And Steve, she's the happiest person I've ever known.
Well, this is what I'll double that down, man, because I'll say there's no evil in Bodhi. There will never be any evil. He will never be mean to anybody on purpose. And, he's a ball of love and light, man. He just wants to do what he wants to do. That's the thing that's hard. No does not fall into his vocabulary very easily at this point.
As I mentioned, Chase is a drummer, and of all things, for an autistic girl to have is a younger brother who's a drummer, and she comes to all the drumming clinics with us because she's actually gotten used to it, and she's fine. She doesn't cover her ears. She enjoys it.
Oh, yeah, that's funny that you say that. My son covers his ears. He comes in my office when I'm playing and just turns off my guitar. But sometimes he'll trick me. He'll come in when I'm sitting there at my desk. I don't see him come in, and he turns it on full blast and scares the shit out of me and thinks that's the funniest thing he's ever seen. Yeah. But it's getting better, man. Like I said, every day we have personal therapies and all the other stuff. I mean, fortunately, I can afford to do that. But, there's nothing I wouldn't do for this kid. And even if he has to be with me forever, I'm really okay with that. Me and my ex adore the kid, and we get on great. We all do stuff as a family, even though we're not married anymore. I know it's weird. Sounds weird. I took my ex to see Billy Joel the other night. I mean, we're great friends, I mean, we just don't live together anymore, which is actually helpful for him getting used to going back and forth, because a lot of autistic kids, their routine, if they screw with the routine, forget about it. It's a nightmare, as you probably well know. I mean, when people say, you say I have an autistic kid, they go, oh, I'm sorry, like they have cancer or something. I go, no. He's healthy as an ox. He's just wired different.
Yeah.
And that's how I explain it to people. When we were kids, how many were there? Not
None.
very many. Maybe I'll give you the fact there may have been some undiagnosed kids because there was always some weird kids in every school. But now it's every family has somebody has somebody. It's not weird at all.
That's just a very small part of my conversation with Steve Lukather. And I asked him for permission. I said, Steve, is it okay if I share this? Because I think it's important for you to share your perspective of having an autistic child. Because you cannot go anywhere these days without meeting someone who's been touched by autism. And his response was very much a response that I would have if I had to talk in front of a camera or on a phone or publicly about my daughter. I basically would say, listen, it's not a poor me thing. He says, I'm happy with my child. I don't look at myself as a victim. And I said, Steve, that's exactly how I feel. He said, then go ahead. It's important for him, he says, to be an advocate for his son, to learn more about what's going on with autism, to make sure they're not, for instance, bullied.
I don't like bullies. I was bullied very badly when I was a little kid, and it stuck with me. And I was just a regular little kid, but I was terrible in sports, super skinny and super shy. Not good when you're in grammar school. But music saved my life, so. And who knows what's going to happen when my kid finds that thing that he's good at. Does your daughter have a specific task or an interest that she's really good at?
Like a savant thing?
Yeah, well, something like savant-like. And not everybody's a genius, but I mean something that they're very good, able to focus. Because I dated this chick a couple of years ago that was a vice president. She was a Norwegian chick. And she was vice president of a company, and they hired specifically autistic people to work for the computer. And they're like the best workers ever. They love to go to work. They love to focus. They're not interrupted easily, and they love to show up when you need them.
Yeah. She doesn't get lost. She's got attention to where my car is.
There's levels of brilliance little things that you don't know. Somebody explained it to me that autistic people are like seeing 5 dimensions. Yeah. They feel like they're floating, which is why my son, I have a pool at my house that I always keep warm for him so he can swim, because it really gets a place for him to get out his anxieties. And then he's totally cool after he swims for about an hour. It's a win-win. He's in perfect shape. He eats non-gluten, all organic foods and stuff.
Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Bodhi. This is Rock History Music.